So hello guys, in this lecture we will talk about reduce method. So reduce actually is a very important method. So actually when we apply the map, reduce and filter, so we think that reduce is a very difficult to implement. So filter and map actually return a array, but actually reduce is not written in array, return actually a single value. So this is the basic syntax of the reduce. So reduce is also apply on the array but return a single value. So in the basic syntax we write here array and the name of the method is the reduce, and we use here two parameter. One is the callback function and another is the initial value. So first of all, what is the callback function? So callback function is actually we also applied in the filter and in the map. So I have also created the separate lecture on the filter and map and given the link in the description box. So if you want to know more about the filter and map, so you can also watch my previous video. We also use the callback function in the filter and map also. Here we also use the callback function, but here we use the four values. First is the accumulator, second is the current value and index and array. So all three values we also use in the map and filter, but accumulator we don't use inside the map and filter. So this is the basic difference. So callback function actually function that runs for each element, and here new thing is the accumulator. So accumulator actually store the result after each iteration. So after the each iteration actually the result is calculated and the result is also stored in the accumulator. So at the time of the next iteration the previous result is stored actually in the accumulator and it will be added in the next value. So in the same way in the each iteration the previous result will be added in the next value. All the result will be stored in the accumulator and at the last we return the accumulator. So current value actually you know that it is the value, current value of the array where we are applying the reduce, and index actually the index of the element of array, and array is actually the array where we are applying the reduce. Actually this is the second argument, the initial value, and this is also the new in the reduce method and it is also optional, we can use it or you can omit it. So next question is that when should we use reduce and where we should use reduce. Suppose when you need to calculate a single result from the array, so you need to use the reduce. So because with the help of the reduce method you can easily calculate the all elements of the array. Suppose when you want to convert an array in an object and another structure, so you can use reduce. And another thing, when you chaining with other methods, like when you want to use the reduce with the filter map, so you can easily use the reduce. And another case you can say that when you need to an alternative for the loop, you want functional programming, so you can use a reduce. So these are the few cases where you can use the reduce. So actually this is the basic difference between the filter, map and reduce. You know that in my previous video filter actually filter the element based on the condition we apply on the filter. So based on this condition it will return a array, but map transform each element. You can apply the multiplication, addition and any operation you can apply the element of map array. So transform each element means that you can apply the operation on each element of map. So where you need to apply the operation on the element, so you can use the map. But reduce actually accumulate into a single value. So when you need a single value from the whole array, or you want to apply any type of operation and return a single result, so you can use a reduce. So reduce actually reduce the result into a single value, so it is called a reduce. So this is the purpose of all the methods. Second is the return value. Filter is return a filtered array and map actually return a transform array. We apply on the each element and it returns a new array. And reduce actually a single value, so it value can be the number, it can be object, array, so it can be any type of value. The use case of filter, when you need to filter some specific element, so you can apply the filter, And when you modifying the each element of the array, so you can use map. But when you are summing, counting and grouping the array elements, so you can use reduce. So this is the basic difference between the filter, map and reduce. So now with the practical demo we will understand how we use the reduce. So let's start it with practical example. So first example we take here. Suppose you want to summing the number in an array with the help of the reduce. So first of all we need to add here the name of the array, and here we just add few values of array. So you can take here any values. Suppose I am taking here this value inside the array, and second thing we need to add here total the array elements. So you just need to add here the name of the array is the number, and here you need to type reduce. So this keyword will be show here. You just click on it, and when you click on here, so you can read here the whole definition of the reduce. So in the callback function you can say accumulator, or you can say the previous value. And second thing we use in the callback function is the current value, and another thing we use in the current index and array. So all these things we use inside the callback function. And second parameter is the initial value. We have already discussed about it, so you can also read here. So now in the bracket you can see here the four things is showing here: previous value, current index and array. So first I am using here, suppose previous value I am using here accumulator. For the accumulator I am using ACC, and for the current value I am using num, and here I am using index, and here I am using array. So you know that this is the previous value will be add inside this. Suppose I am using here a regular function, so all these things we need to add inside the function. So you also need to add here function, and inside this you will add it. So here you can console each value. Suppose I am showing you first the each result here. So when you array, actually the name of the array you can use here. You can show this value here, or you can show the length of the array. You can use this. So all these thing is the accumulator function. So you can see here the two params we need to add here. First is the callback function, and second is the initial value. But the second argument is the optional. You can use it or not. So suppose we want to use it, so where it can be added, so you need to add it here. Suppose I am using the initial value is 0. So this is the initial value of the accumulator we are using here as a variable for the previous value. So you just need to return here. You want to add in this number. So now I save it and just show you the result. What will be returned inside the total. So total we will just print here. So you can see here accumulator starting value is 0 because I am using here the second param is 0, and the first value of the num is the 10 because it's getting the first value from the array. First index is 0. So this is the whole array, and like this when we are adding the accumulator with numbers, so 0 plus 10 will be the 10. So the next time the accumulator value will be 10. The next time the accumulator value will be 30 because the 20 will be added inside the previous value. So the next time the accumulator value will be 30, and the third time when the 30 will be added inside the numbers, so the accumulator value will be 60, and at the last value is the 40 will be added inside the accumulator, so it will return the 100. So 100 will be returned from here, and it will show like this. So in this way, with the help of the reduce method, you can easily add the values of the array. So all these things you can also implement with the same with the arrow function. Suppose now you know that index, array and num, all these things is the optional, so you can use it or not. Suppose I am not using it, so I am just removing it here, and just I am, all these things I am removing here. I am just, so we also don't need return here. I am just adding here, passing the two things. One is the previous value accumulator variable, and second is the current value, the array value. You can also use here index, and you can also use here array, but I don't need it, so you can use it or you can remove it from here. So this is actually the first param. So second param is the initial value. I am using here a 0. So like this, with the arrow function you can add the initial value, and now I save it and just run it again. So you can see here it will also return a same result. You can add here any condition. Suppose second case you can use, you want to maximum value of array, so you just need to change the condition. Suppose I am using here another condition, when the num value is greater than cumulator, so it just return a, and otherwise it will return 0. And the initial value you can use here 0, but suppose I want to use here another initial value because I want to check the first value of the array, so you can just add here the first index of the array is the 0. So it will store the first index value of array inside the ACC accumulator in the previous value, and it will just check the each value of array with the updated value of accumulator. And here I am just typing maximum number. So just save it and run. So you can see it's showing the maximum number is 40. Suppose you want to check the smallest number, so you can just use this operator and just run it. So it will show the 0. So actually we need to check this condition here. When the number is less than accumulator, so it will return the number, and when the number is not less than accumulator, so it will return the previous value accumulator. So it will return a right result. Suppose I just again type here 0 because it is not the previous value, so it's actually not exist inside array, so it will return a minimum value always 0. So this is actually the minimum value we are applying now. So it will always return 0 because it will store the previous value 0 inside the accumulator. So we need to add here accumulator. The previous value will be of the array, and we are storing in the previous value as the array first index value. So it will store always 10 inside the accumulator and will check with the each value of array and always return a. It's showing a error here. I just again run it. So now it will showing 10. So suppose I am taking here a some complex example. Suppose we want to use here a some complex example. Suppose you want to create a lookup table. So with the help of the reduce, you can resolve complex problems. Like suppose we have an array of students, and in this array I am using the ID is 101, and the name can use here any name. Suppose I am using here Alice, the name. So actually this is the object, so we need to add inside this bracket, and in the same way we can add here another object 102, and here we can use Bob. So now we want to return student lookup table. We are using accumulator and num. So here I am suppose using a student array, so you can add here student. You can take here any name. Suppose I am using here students array, so object I am using here is student, and this condition I want to change Suppose as a object I want to return here, so we can use it like this. And first of all I want to return an object. So the initial value I am storing inside the accumulator is the blank object, and now I will use this object here because in the accumulator a blank object is stored here, and here is the student.id, and here I want to store the whole student object inside this and return the previous value accumulator I am returning here. So now save it and show you that what will be show here. So I am using, I think, number. Yeah, we are using here the number array because the name we have changed to student. So now I save and run again, so it will show you table like this because we are using here a object, so whole object will be show like this because this is the value actually of the accumulator 101, and we are storing here the whole student object. So like this you can create any table according to your requirement. So another case you can say here, suppose I want to use the reduce with map. So now we will use the map with the reduce. So in the map we have already created a separate lecture, so if you want to know more about the map, so I have also given the link in the description box how to use the map. Suppose I am using here again a number array. So I am using here a 1 2 3 4 and 5, the values of the numbers array, and I am just using here a number array. Suppose we want to sum of all the elements of array but with help of the map. So actually we apply the operation on the each element and then we want to add the elements of array. So first I am just removing this code here and just use here sum, and I am also removing this code, and first I am just apply the map because the first step we need to apply the operation on the element of array. So I am using here a map. So map, we just add here num arrow function, and here we need to num multiply by 2. Suppose I want to multiply the each element with the 2. So suppose I just save it and run, so it will show you the each element with multiply of 2. So actually this is the first step, because with the help of this we also need to use the reduce. So another step, we want to now use the reduce. So actually in the previous example you know that how to use the reduce. So now we use here reduce parameters. So first is the accumulator or previous value, you can say this is the name of the variable, and another is the num is the second parameter. And now again in the same way I am using a another bracket arrow. So you can also use this in the second line, and in the same line you can also apply, and here you can use arrow, and here we just using a simple add. So this is the same we have used in the previous example how to add the number of the array, but we are using here the map first, then we are using a reduce, and the initial value we are using here is 0. So 0 is the initial value of the accumulator. So first the 0 will be stored in the accumulator, and then the each number, the new numbers we have apply already the maps. So actually we are applying the reduce on the map result. So the new array, so this is the new array, actually we have already show this. So on this array the reduce will be applied. So now I save it and run this again. So now actually it will show you the actual result of the sum, because now the new array is the 2 4 6 8 and 10. So this is the new array after applying the map, and on the result of this array the reduce will be applied. So another case, suppose we want to apply the reduce with the filter. So let's take another example. So in the same example, I am just taking here a filter. Suppose I want to apply the filter. Suppose first I just comment this line and just save it. So it will show you all the numbers that is divided by 2 and the remainder will be 0. So only 2 and 4 is showing here because only 2 and 4 is divided by 2. So now we apply the reduce on this. So it will show you the 6 because now in the array we have only the 2 values because the reduce we are applying on the filter. So the new array is the 2 and 4 and the new value will be show here 6. So you can face this type of scenario where you want to use map, filter and reduce at the same time. Use the reduce with filter and map at the same time. Suppose you know that this will show you the result 2 and 4 after filtering. So after filtering we want to apply the map. Suppose we are using here a dot map and inside this we are just multiply each number by 2. So now save it and show you that what will be the result. So now the 4 and 8 will be show here because after filtering only the two element inside the array will be show 2 and 4. Suppose first I just comment this also and just run it. So only two value will be show, and when I just use here a map, so now map will apply on the two values 2 and 4. So it will show you 4 and 8, and now I just uncomment reduce, so it will apply on this result, so 4 and 8. So it will show you the sum 12 because it will apply on the two values. So first the filter result will be produced, then the map will be apply on the filter result, and after the result of the both the reduce will be used. So I hope this video is very helpful for understanding that how we use the reduce in the different scenarios. So if you have any doubt, any query, so please let me know in the comment section. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.